Joining me now at the desk, Jake DeWitt, Oklo CEO, and Jacob Stedman, Blykalla CEO. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us. Jake, let me start with you just to get a response to the overvaluation allegations. I mean, there's so many things you can control at your business, but valuation's really not one of them. What do you think about the price Wall Street is putting on your business?
I think one of the aspects here still is this story has so many details to it that people are still unpacking. And I think there's still sort of a recognition of what's happening there. What we announced last month, I guess it was earlier this month, in terms of investing in fuel recycling, is a massive unlock, a part of the story that hasn't actually been fully appreciated about what that does, not just for solving fuel scarcity issues, but changing fuel economics in a fundamental way and opening up different revenue streams. And that's just a small example. Then what we're going to talk about here a little more today, partnering on a transatlantic basis, opens up additional partnership opportunities and opportunities for growth on a more kind of global scale. So I think there's still a lot of details of the story being, unpacked. There's obviously a lot of excitement, which is cool to see. But at the end of the day, execution proves it all out, so that's what we got to do.
Jacob Stedman, come in here and tell us about the deal that you've made, what you're going to do with the money, and how you plan to work together.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. So Oklo is investing $5 million into Blykalla, and it's also we signed a transatlantic partnership. I think it's one of the first of its kind. So we have three areas, as you said, about collaboration. So one is, for example, on fuel. Oklo is investing heavily in fuel fabrication, and that's great for us because we, as everybody else, also needs fuel. So we hope to procure that fuel in the future, the fuel made here in the United States, and hopefully also maybe co-invest together in facilities like this. So that's one area, and then also working with supplier development, for example. There are big capacity shortages, and we hope to solve them by creating aggregate demand.
Will this, Jake DeWitt, get you to, I have two Jakes here on set. Will this get you closer to commercial deployment? Because that's, for me, like one of the most exciting milestones that we are waiting to see.
This partnership alone, no. But we are taking a lot of steps. I mean, there's so much happening that's even just transpired since the executive orders. And I agree, getting that first plant built is exciting. But here's how I think about it. If we swing at one plant, that's the wrong thing to do. We have to swing through and beyond, because what we're talking about an opportunity, what you mentioned in your prior segment, 30% growth, I actually think that might be soft. You look at the goal set by President Biden, President Trump, we need hundreds of gigawatts of more of new nuclear. So this partnership's about scaling beyond that first one, well through it and above. So it's opening up the door for significant, not just domestic expansion, because they might be investing in and buying fuel fabrication capacity from us, but also we can work with them about opening the door for more suppliers to come to the table so that we can actually build more plants both domestically and internationally. So I think it works actually pretty favorably.
You have, I think, a vertically integrated strategy, right? And how do these partnerships, how will this play into it? Will we see more like this?
It does. So we have a lot of constraints, like Jacob was saying, in the supply chain. And we can work together with suppliers to acquire more components together is a great way to sort of unlock some of that and grow that and make investments that we're going to make, that they're going to make, that we might make together in things as well, like fuel fabrication. It's not just about the fuel material, like they talk about scarcity, it's also fabricating it. So we're making investments across the whole chain, and then that will help us serve their needs as well.
Jacob, what are your needs, and what are Europeans prepared to do here? I mean, Sweden, my experience is in Germany, where they have gone the other direction from nuclear, right? But the rest of Europe may see it differently.
Yeah, so I think Sweden is obviously a much smaller place than the United States, but the government is extremely pro-nuclear. So we are going to double the electricity generation over the next 25 years, even more in percentage than here. So doubling means building a lot of new nuclear. The government put up a roadmap saying we're going to build 10 gigawatts more of nuclear capacity, and we intend to be a big part of that solution.
And your concerns about supply chain, your concerns about fuel are helped, I guess, by this investment.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's a win-win. It's actually a win-win-win because it's also good for the suppliers. So, if we come together and create aggregate demand, it's much easier for a single supplier to say, here is a customer group that wants the same things, and then they can invest in capacity and get it built.
So when will we see these, your first plants built? Or I know you want to swing through and look at more, but when are we going to see actual deployment? Because until then, analysts are going to say these things about valuations, right? I'm not going to find really a PE or not much of one.
Yeah, well, I think these are the things that start to unpack the story in different dimensions, like we just talked about. But in terms of answering your question, one of the really exciting things that came out from President Trump's executive orders that build on stuff that passed in the Advance Act under under President Biden, is this acceleration on the regulatory front and opening up the apertures for different regulatory pathways, including, for example, the Department of Energy's reactor pilot program. We had not one, not two, actually 3 reactors selected into that. And that program is built to enable plants to turn on by July 4th, 2026. Now, not all plants and not all designs are going to be able to do that because of supply chain constraints, but we have like sort of the work in place to bring forward. We expect at least 1 of our reactors to hit that date, and then we expect follow-on plants to come in potentially in that similar time frame or going into 27. Then scaling into full power operations from 27 to 28. When we look at the world, like the U.S. is leading in its commitment to nuclear, and then Sweden was one of the other countries that's really leading in investing in and committing to nuclear power. So partnering up between the two to leverage kind of the best benefits that each country and the technologies give with the nuclear company in Sweden, which is Blykalla, was a kind of a natural fit for us.
Jacob Stedman, what are the milestones we should be watching for from Blykalla? Obviously, Oklo has been an astounding success from an investment perspective. Because we're fortunate to talk to Jake, we know the story well. What about Blykalla?
Yeah, so we're not listed yet, but you can still follow us. There are 3 things we're going to do, also with the proceeds from this round. So the first is complete the design and start licensing for the reactor, so to get the first reactor park built. The second thing is the financing, and Sweden has quite an innovative financing mechanism from the government that makes it possible to access cheap debt and also lock in a certain price for a long time. So we're going to access that financing package. And then third, we're going to also work with getting the test facility in place. So Uniper, which is one of the biggest utilities in Northern Europe, is an important partner to us. And they have a nuclear power plant in southern Sweden, and we're building a test facility, a non-nuclear test facility on their site. They're also an investor in Blykalla, so it's an important partner. And that's something we prioritize in the next year.
When you do list, will it be in Stockholm or would you look at New York?
So New York is, of course, very attractive for companies all over the world, right?
Yeah, not London, though.
I mean, I would take a stand for now, but I think New York is clearly where most people look these days.
I don't want to put you on the spot. We just did a story about London ideas. They've fallen out of the top 20. It's been a tough market.
It's been a tough market. Yeah, no, I know. It's
guys, great having you on the desk. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope we can continue these conversations. Jake DeWitt there of Oklo and Jacob Stedman of Blykalla.